If you're going to be an independent author, one thing you need to understand immediately is there are a lot of people who are going to try and extract money from you. There are a lot of legitimate expenses that will come up during your publishing journey, such as editing and cover design. But there are many other services you simply don't need that unscrupulous entrepreneurs will try to convince you that you do. Today's video is 5 of those expenses you absolutely don't need to incur. Hello, shameless writers. First off, I want to thank everybody who participated in my book launch of Black Magic's Vendetta. The sales for book 3 were absolutely fabulous, and when combined with the sales that I got from book 1 from the blog tour I went on, I had my single best week I've ever had as an author. So again, thank you to absolutely everybody who purchased the book, everybody who left a review, and for those of you who didn't quite get it during launch week, they are still for sale on Amazon. Now, to get to the crux of today's video. When we're all starting off, of course, we're going to make mistakes, and often those mistakes take the form of spending money that you really didn't need to, or perhaps spending more than you should have. There are a lot of different ways to waste money. I've made previous videos on buying too much editing, etc., etc. However, today's video is simply about 5 expenses that you should, in my humble opinion, never ever even consider as an independent author. Number 1. A non-exclusive book cover. If you've tooled around and you've looked at artist websites, you know that getting a custom book cover for your book can get a little bit expensive, especially if you want an ebook cover, a paperback, and an audiobook. These are all different formats, they're all different sizes, and they require different measurements, particularly the print book, because that has to be tailored for how many pages your book has. If you're working with a great artist, this can sometimes run up to $900 per book, if not more. A good way to get around that, particularly for the rapid release folks, is to use pre-made covers. Now, there's a lot of people who look askance on pre-mades like, oh, they're not as good, or oh, they're not as great for your specific book. It's better to get something custom made for your book. But here's the thing, and this is especially like if you're in a well-established genre like romance or military sci-fi. The pre-made ones can be really great, and they can save you a lot of time and money and hardship. So I have absolutely no beef with pre-made covers, but if you're going to get a pre-made cover, make sure that it's an exclusive. Most established pre-made cover sites will say in their description, okay, once you make this purchase, it's off the site. It absolutely is. And that's the way that it should be, because there's nothing worse than thumbing through Amazon, feeling really proud of the book cover that you paid money for, and then seeing another book with that exact same cover, just different title and different author name. That has to be the worst feeling ever. Now again, if you get it from an established pre-made cover site, that's not going to happen. So just make sure that if you do purchase a pre-made cover, make sure the person is reputable, make sure the site is reputable, and make sure that it says there in writing, this is custom to you. The cover will no longer be on sale after you purchase it. Number 2, hiring someone to do SEO and keyword research for advertising. It's an unfortunate reality now that at least most of the time, people organically finding your book and purchasing it just doesn't happen anymore. The reason for this is because Amazon pretty much got rid of the also red ribbon. Instead, they've replaced it with sponsored products similar to your work, meaning that if you want to be discovered by new readers, pretty much you have to pay for advertising. That's all well and good, and it's a skill in and of itself. So I understand the temptation to pay money for a person to pick out all of your keywords, to optimize it for good search engine optimization, for good Amazon optimization, and have them set up your ads for you. I get the temptation, I really do. But here's the thing, there are tools that will take the guesswork out of it. This is especially for Amazon, but also if you're wide. There are 2 programs that are kind of the titans of it. One of them is Publisher Rocket. It used to be called Kindle Rocket, but now you can do keyword research on other platforms as well, hence the Publisher Rocket. There's also Catalytics, which I think is still exclusive to KDP people. What these programs do is allow you to look up hundreds of keywords that are associated with your book, with titles that are similar to your book, with bestsellers that are in the same genre, things that people might be searching for. And you can download all of them into a spreadsheet and then just put them into Amazon advertising. Because here's the thing, you're paying for advertising. Do you also really want to pay for somebody's labor to go through and do the legwork for you? This made sense without these programs, but now it doesn't make sense at all. Now, these programs do cost money. I don't know about Catalytics because I don't use it, but I'm pretty sure that's a one-time purchase. I know for a fact that Publisher Rocket is a one-time purchase, means it's not a monthly subscription. So you pay your $99, I think, is that how much it costs? And then it's yours forever. For all of the books you will ever release, you have that tool at your disposal where you can look up hundreds of keywords at a time, and you can tailor your advertising on Amazon to get the best readers. There's nothing immoral about hiring a person for SEO, whether it's for your website or your blog. But in terms specifically for advertising campaigns, I do think it's a waste of money. I highly recommend you look into Catalytics and Publisher Rocket before you consider hiring a professional and spending money for every single advertising campaign you want to run. Number 3, hiring someone for a query letter or a synopsis. For those of you who want to be traditionally published, you probably know by now that in order to be traditionally published, you typically have to have an agent. And to get an agent, you have to have a query letter and often a synopsis. Not always, but sometimes you do. Most editors, including myself, offer these services. Yes, I will absolutely write your query letter for you. Yes, I will absolutely write your synopsis for you. But here's the thing. Why God, are you paying me $150, which maybe you do not have laying around, to write a one-page synopsis of your book? You wrote the book. You know what it's about. I absolutely know how hard it is to compress 400 pages into a one-page query letter, only 2 paragraphs of which are actually about your book. The other 2 paragraphs are about you and why you chose that particular agent. I get how hard that is. And the synopsis is no better because you have to cut out a bunch of subplots. It's just very clinical sounding. It feels like you're doing dirty by your book. It's a hard process. And I do not judge you for the impulse of saying, you know what, just let me outsource this. I'm just telling you as your editor and as someone who could financially gain from telling you otherwise, it's not something you should spend money on. You're not being cheated if you make that decision. You're not being immoral if you make that decision. My recommendation as your editor is to do it yourself. Number 4, writing coaching services. This holds the caveat that this suggestion is only for beginners. That might seem odd because most people will think, okay, well, when you're beginning, isn't that when you need a coach? Not exactly. Right now, I want to differentiate between a coach and a consultant. A consultant is someone you hire to do things for you. You don't know how to do SEO for your website. You hire an SEO consultant to do it for you. You don't know how to acquire keywords for your advertising and you don't want to get Kindle Rocket. Okay, fair enough. So you hire a consultant to do that for you. A coach is not there to do things for you. A coach is there to help you do for yourself. In order for a coach to be effective, you have to know what you want. You have to know where you are right now and where you want to be. So pretty much if you're at the very beginning of your journey, there's a lot you don't know about the process. There's a lot you don't know about where you want to be, and you don't really know what's standing in your way from where you want to be because you haven't yet written your book. You haven't yet published your book. You haven't yet run into that wall of why isn't my advertising working, or why isn't my newsletter getting in the kind of readers that it used to anymore, because you barely have a newsletter. Coaching services are something that you should hold off from purchasing until you at least have, I'm going to say, 2 books under your belt or a complete trilogy. You need to have made some money from your writing. You need to have gathered some kind of an audience to you. And then you have to look at what you've got and say, okay, I'm not growing. I have what I have. I've built what I've built, but I want to level up, but I don't know how. That's what a coach is for. They're not there to get you to level 1. They're there to get you from level 2 to level 10. I think there's a famous saying, and I don't know who said it. It's one of those entrepreneur people on YouTube. They said, what got you here won't get you there. That's what a coach is for. But in order for you to hire the coach, you have to get here first. So if you're just starting off and you see these ads for, oh, I'm a certified writer's coach. Oh, I've worked with New York Times bestsellers. They're probably a very good writer's coach, and there's someone to maybe follow on social media. but don't hire them for yourselves just yet. Wait until you've got an existing platform, and then once that's in place, then spring for the big bucks of a writing coach. And it is big bucks. It's expensive. That's why I'm telling you to hold off. Wait until you have a little bit of income to put back into your business. Finally, number 5, the dishonorable mention. Author services, aka vanity presses. If you watch a lot of crime TV like I do, like Investigation Discovery, you've probably seen the advertisement for Christian author services. It's a respectable looking man in a suit standing against the white backdrop saying, "Are you a Christian author with a book, but you don't know how to get it out to the world? Call this phone number so you can give us all your money for things that you could do yourself for free." These types of services prey on newbie authors who have it in their crazy head that they can just hire someone and end up in big time bookstores on top of the bestseller lists and be featured in print magazines or whatever. That's not going to happen, and that's not what these facilities do. What they do is they take money from you and then they tell you, okay, well, we're going to get your book on Amazon. We're going to get your book in bookstores. That's a lie, by the way, and I'll tell you why in a second. We're going to run advertising for you. We're going to give you marketing. And technically, all of these things are true. But you can get yourself on Amazon for free. And the advertising that they run is a lot less effective than the advertising that you could do for yourself. You know when you've got a glossy mag and you're flipping, and then you get to the end and you see that wall of black and white text. And if you look at it real closely, you're like, oh, this isn't advertising for a book? Why would they put it back here? That's what that is. So basically they buy the rights to your book. They tell you it's in a bookstore, which it isn't unless that bookstore specifically orders it. But why would they order it? They have all of these bestsellers and sometimes even, well-trafficked indies that they can order. Why would they order yours? They don't even know that yours exists. So it's not just this Christian authors. This is all vanity presses. A good rule of thumb is money should flow to the author. This is anytime you're working with a publisher, anytime that you're working with an agent. These people should not be charging you money. They should be giving you money. That's how it works. When you are independently published, yes, money is flowing out, but they're flowing out for services. You're paying for cover design, you're paying for editing, you are paying for marketing. You are paying for a specific service from a specific vendor. It's not an amorphous company that says, oh, we'll do everything for you, just give us money. Don't do it. If you ever have a question about the legitimacy of a publisher or an author service company, or even a contest, there's a wonderful site called Predators and Editors. And they pretty much are really up to date about listing all the services that exist to really screw authors and especially independent authors. Be very careful. There are a lot of services, quote unquote, that love to take your money and give you nothing in return. So those are my top 5 do not spend recommendations. If you have any cautionary tales about what you ought not spend money on, I would love to hear about it down in the comments. For all I know, there's a brand new scam out there that I don't know about. As always, be sure to like and subscribe, and until next time, take care and write well.